Okay, day 30, 6th of November 2014. It's been a brief time since the last video, as I did day 29 last night at about 7:30, so not a lot has happened since then. Mind you, I did buy that Awaken, the Giant Within, the Tony Robbins book, and really enjoying it. Been focusing on the chapter about pain and pleasure, a really good way to look at how to substitute what you're doing to achieve your goals, so to speak. But I'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a minute. I want to go back to the normal daily routine with the affirmation, the goals, short, medium and long term, and the reflections. The affirmation, as usual, today I'll do everything in my power to reduce my weight to below 109 kilos by 25th of December 2014. I'll complete my exercise, eat healthily and focus to ensure my back can be as strong as it can be. Notes I wanted to express. Based on this Tony Robbins book chapter, I want to set one thing to do each day that will create pleasure for me. So it's about harnessing, enjoying what you're doing, and finding things to do that you want to do, rather than going through the grind and getting into a routine of doing things because you feel you have to do them. And today it was to catch up with an Irish bloke I met a couple of years ago in a job that I was doing. He's in Newcastle, so just down the road from where my mum lives, in Lemon Tree Passage. So I've got to get off my ass and get stuck into that. But the goals for today, that one being that pleasurable one, is to do an hour's worth of reading, which I've pretty much done this morning. I'm still interested in that book, so I'm going to read more. I've got to do Mum's phone. I've got to transfer that over. It was meant to be done yesterday. I didn't get round to it. I will get round to it today. I want to do at least 1 hour's work with Ivana, preferably 2 hours. Complete any of the other training work I've got to do. The exercise is done. Stock standard for when I'm away: stretches, back stretches and sit-ups and walk. And I'm going to do the 5 questions of the book today, so they're going to be of a high priority. There's a bit of noise in the background. The one day I don't close the window, as a garbage man shows up. It's typical fortune. Here he comes, even closer, so it's going to get louder. Okay, so the reflection. I don't remember how much I went into detail yesterday about what Nick and I went through and what we were talking about. But it's about phrasing certain words and using certain words in positive context rather than negative context. And the main one was doubt, and whether people can achieve things even when they have doubt. So my argument, sitting on both sides of the fence, started from, well, I believe they can, because so many people say, yes, I did achieve what I wanted to achieve. However, I doubted in the beginning whether I could do it. So maybe at some stage that doubt dissipated. But my example was, okay, if I see a doorway in the distance, I don't know how tall it is. Me being 6'4", my suggestion is I want to walk through that doorway, but I doubt whether or not my head's going to fit underneath it. Is that going to stop me walking through the doorway? I'm not too sure. So Nick sort of mentioned maybe using phrases like, I'm curious to see if I can fit under that door, or I believe I can fit under that door. And these are the questions I keep asking. Is it more a point of, do you perceive the word doubt as being positive or negative? So should I be getting frustrated with the fact that this garbage truck keeps driving past my window? This is the second time I've tried to do this video this morning and I keep getting interrupted. Is this testing my patience? Should I be letting this worry me? Again, this isn't something I can control. I could stop it, or I could keep going. Who knows? Lesson to learn. Yeah, something else that I'm a bit overconscious about. I've been staying at my mum's place now for the best part of a week, and within me I'm starting to feel a bit self-conscious that I'm overstaying my welcome. It's little comments that I'm interpreting. I believe I'm pretty good at reading body language, but my question is, am I over-reading things? Am I reading too much into things? And this goes back to control issues. Am I trying to control the situation? Am I over analysing? Am I over optimising? I'm now sitting in the room. You can see by the background the differences in where I've been moving around. Trying to get away from Mum and Cole and give them their space and allow them to do things. Could be reading it completely wrong, no idea. But this is just opening my mind to these sort of thoughts. Okay, we're down to 87 days for our 3-month goal, which is to have 3 of the coaching books completed. So obviously I need to focus more on those questions that I want to write. It's been almost a week now where I've set a goal to write 5 of them, but I will do them today. One paying speaking gig. So that's one of the goals that I've put for 3 months. I'm just allowing that to go with the flow because I'm not looking into my niche market or which coaching area I'm going to get into until the initiation of the Fox weekend, which is coming up in 3 or 4 weeks time. Day 177 on the 6-month goal. That's to have a business cruise fully booked. Again, very light goal. Not sure if that's the niche market that I want to go into. Still love the idea. It's a great concept. So maybe that goal could be to have either a business cruise booked or a secondary holiday. So that's a good way to put it. So I'm not tying myself down or holiday. So another cruise book. That's good. The annual goal is 362 days, and that's to have my successful business up and running and earning the equivalent of $100,000 per annum. And the 3-year goal is down to day 1092, which is paying our unit off. Okay, so going back onto the Tony Robbins book and focusing on pleasure and pain, what I found really interesting is they went through an exercise. I enjoyed the exercise. It was come up with 4 actions that I've wanted to take and just haven't got round to doing it, whether it's procrastination or whatever. You need to go through and identify each of the actions, then work out why you haven't decided to take that action, and then work out why it gives you pleasure to not take that action, and then look at how the amount of pain that it causes you by not taking that action, and then what it costs you. So they're all interesting things. I actually looked at being smoke free. So as you know, I'm already into day, that's a good question, I didn't write that today, day 22, being smoke free. Got to write that down. To keep monitoring how long I've been going, because that's bringing me pleasure to know that I haven't had a cigarette in over 22 days. So every day is one day further, so that's pleasurable. I'm taking the focus off wanting a cigarette or thinking about having a cigarette because I'm focusing more about the pleasure I'm getting of not smoking. So the 4 actions I was looking at was to be smoke free, to become thinner, which is another note I wanted to mention. There seems to be a lot of areas within the coaching about weight loss. If we're focusing on language, weight loss, is that telling your subconscious that at some time your brain is going to remember it? So you're going to remember that weight, so you're going to put the weight back on. So I'm going to avoid using the term weight loss. I'm going to focus more on becoming thinner. So that's where I want to go, that's where I'm going to be. Gamble free, that's an interesting one. It's about reducing the amount of gambling that I'm doing, and I mean that by financially gambling on poker machines and stuff like that. People can sit there and say, oh well, starting this business or taking that job or walking across the road is a gamble. I don't mean that sort of gamble. Less TV, so in my downtime finding other things to do other than just sitting there and watching TV, and then reducing the amount of alcohol that I consume. Again, it's taking that thought process of what I believe I've needed alcohol for, and I think I've identified that my confidence, my looks, is something that was damaging when I was growing up, being bullied, being in peer groups that believed that drinking was, encouraging, and it was about being cool and being accepted into groups. So this all compounded into my perception of who I needed to be, and alcohol allowed me to do that. So it's about building my confidence and enjoying who I am and how I look and all that sort of stuff, and getting pleasure out of what I have become, and not having to rely on that alcohol. So rather than just trying to cut myself off from alcohol or reducing the amount of alcohol I drink, it's about being happy with who I am, so I don't need alcohol to push me up, if that makes sense. I could be right, could be wrong. This is what I'm learning. This is what I've identified. So whether or not this life coaching thing is a scam or a success, there are certain things that I'm learning along the way, which if someone else is listening to this or watching this, they might think, oh yeah, I didn't think of it that way. But at the moment, at day 30, this is all about me. So follow the journey, see where I get to. At the moment, I think my biggest success is the fact that I'm on day 22 of being smoke free. Just mainly, I'm not going to say it's purely the reason, mainly because of the stuff that I'm reading and the stuff that I'm wanting to get involved in is teaching me that it's about my mind and my control over what I choose to do and what I choose not to do. And at the moment, I'm choosing not to smoke, and I'm benefiting immensely. But that's moved into 11 minutes, which is one of the longest ones. But day 30, so we're a month in. It's about what I've achieved and what I plan on achieving. So till tomorrow, which is the actual golf trip. So over the next 3 days, it's going to be interesting to see if I do these videos, because I'm a bit concerned about who's watching and who's listening. So I then think, okay, well, if I'm being taught to just do things and don't worry about what other people think, then by rights, I should be making a video on Friday, Saturday and Sunday mornings around the golf guys. Whether or not I do it is interesting, and whether I can achieve it. I suppose the main focus should be is, regardless of whether I do it or not, I shouldn't regret the decision that I make. So if I'm happy just having 3 days off from videoing, great, and I'll see where I'm at in 3 days. It could be a great experiment to see if by not recording and videoing every day, do I take a step back, do I fall into old barriers and so on and so forth. So something to look for when I reflect back on these videos is how much I actually drink over the next couple of days, because it is basically thought of as a golf trip where the boys get together and have a lot of drinks. So am I subconsciously starting to change the amount of consumption? How I'm going to be represented with these guys. I get along with them pretty well, but I'm starting to think about, well, are they really perceiving me as a great guy, or is it just a facade, or does it matter? Who cares? Where's the control? But a few things to think about, and we'll see what happens. All the best.